What's up, Cloud Gamers? Welcome back to the Cloud Gaming Extreme channel, and today we're taking a look at World War Z Aftermath compared on Stadia and GeForce Now. This will be a 1080p 60 FPS comparison for parity across the two, and we'll start off by taking a look at the settings, so let's get into that. Now here you can see one of the big drawbacks for Stadia, unfortunately, is the lack of cross-play, and this has been a big point of discussion for World War Z on Stadia recently, and they did say it was going to have cross-play, so hopefully it will come in a future update. As far as the settings on GeForce Now, of course 1080p 60 matching Stadia, and we're all high on everything and ultra on our textures. Over on Stadia, no options for video, we're straight up 1080p 60 no matter what, but we do have motion blur turned off to match GeForce Now. And next up, we'll start off with some picture quality stuff. And coming down to the game settings, it's no surprise that GeForce Now is going to look better. It's going to sport higher settings when it comes to lighting, shadows, and ultra on that texture quality. So while both are at 1080p streams, it's no secret that Stadia's 1080p stream often just isn't the cleanest. Combine that with some lower texture resolutions, and GeForce Now's 1080p gaming will look a little bit clearer and crisper than Stadia's most of the time, and that rings true with World War Z. I'll move over into a little bit of a darker scene, and both services do a great job of not getting the pixelation or blockiness that you can get especially in darker scenes, but of course here the picture quality is just more vibrant with much better lighting and shadows over on GeForce Now, especially in this scene. You can see how the moonlight is really affecting the scene much differently on GeForce Now. Again, not a surprise because we are running that PC version. Now when it comes to motion, both of these guys are streaming 1080p 60 FPS, and usually the 3080 on GeForce Now is smoother for me, and it definitely does look a little bit clearer and smoother here in this imagery, but both of them do lose some frames in the stream. There is some stuttering and some loss of frames in stream, not so much in game so much, but in the stream. So you'll see that in the game a little bit as we do stutter here and there and get some jankiness. But both GeForce Now and Stadia, when we're talking about cloud gaming, do a great job these days of trying to give us a decently smooth stream, and I was okay with this with World War Z. So let's talk a little bit about getting around in the world and combat and input latency, because I did test that for both Stadia and GeForce Now. And when you're controlling the game, they feel very similar. Now, oftentimes Stadia does have a bit of a higher input latency than GFN's 3080, and usually I can feel that. And while I could feel it just a little bit in this game, they were really close, so I was excited to check out the input latency. Even in combat, everything felt pretty smooth for both platforms. The 1080p 60 functioned in-game and in-stream just fine. We do lose some of those frame time stutters a little bit here and there in our stream, some in the game in Stadia, but for the most part, everything stays pretty good even in combat. Now when it comes to the actual input latency numbers, that's where things were interesting for me, because like I said, in a lot of games Stadia has been scoring a good bit higher than GeForce Now, but in World War Z Aftermath it was actually closer than I expected for our 1080p 60 stream at 60 Hz on my monitor. 68.8 milliseconds for Stadia, click to pixel change latency with the mouse, and same thing for GeForce Now at 61.1 milliseconds. So not too bad there. I could feel just the slightest difference when I was playing, but it was so close and most people wouldn't, and I was actually really surprised at how close to GeForce Now Stadia came with the latency in this particular game. So to wrap things up, World War Z Aftermath plays just fine on both platforms, but I would much prefer it on GeForce Now because of the visuals, slightly better input latency, and the biggest one of all, crossplay. For Stadia, I am disappointed that we only have 1080p with no 4K even for pro members, and that the visuals weren't just slightly better, but the most disappointing thing is the lack of crossplay. I could really deal with everything else on the performance side if they would have been able to deliver a proper crossplay so that the Stadia community could combine with the rest of the great World War Z community on other platforms and have a big community to be able to play the game with. It's going to be difficult for Stadia on their platform with their lower player base in a game like this for people who don't have friends to play with already to get into groups. So hopefully they do bring that in the future. That's probably my biggest gripe for this game when it comes to Stadia, is the lack of crossplay. Alright guys, thanks a lot for coming to check out the video. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up, and ring the bell so you know when we drop new content. Appreciate you coming to watch, and we'll see you in the next one.